This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
This is your Can You Win a Super Bowl by the final score of 10-3 leader fan Radio Network.
Okay, calm down.
And KFAN.com. 2 minutes and 10 seconds past the hour of 3 o'clock Central Daylight Saving Time. We welcome you back to a very special edition of the Bumper to Bumper program here in the land of course, 10,000 lakes, 10,000 fraud cases, the $70 pastrami sandwich, and unlimited corn sweat. That's what we pride ourselves on here at the Bumper to Bumper program on a, I think, a fairly moist Tuesday afternoon here in the Twin Cities. Speaking of corn sweat afternoon. We are delighted you chose to join us. My name is Dan Barreiro. I host the program. Guardsy produces the show. And we have I think a pretty good show planned between now and 6:30 this evening. You can reach us via the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line at 64686. Did you like to unravel mysteries?
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes. That's true. Have you gotten to the bottom of what we're still waiting to do on the wall I'm facing here in Studio A? It looks like it's incomplete. The TV, the regs is back up.
Okay,
as I said yesterday, limited signage. I feel like we're bracing for something dramatic on, well, I guess that would be the fourth wall. I mean, one wall is mainly windows, so there's not much you can do there.
That's
the wall
the north
behind
side.
me is, of course, the brick wall.
The comedy club
The brick by brick, a comedy club brick. Then to my immediate left, we got red KFAN logos with the iHeart signal, a symbol. And then I'm facing the one where it looks like there's still, is it going to like blow my mind? Is it going to be something psychedelic? Do you have any idea? Have you learned anything regarding our plan there?
No, in fact, the people that I would have asked about it today, none of them are here.
Oh, okay.
I haven't gotten any closer than I was
To the bottom
yesterday.
of the story?
It's got to be something similar. You would think it would also be the brick, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you think that because it's
matching brick kind of?
Yeah, it's all for the cameras, I would assume.
Well, but then why would you need the undersheet of dark color at all? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or maybe you need that as a base?
That might be the primer.
Okay.
Or something like that. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I would assume it's going to be the same.
More brick?
Probably, but I don't know. Maybe that's where the Lynx logo is going to go.
I was going to say, I wonder if we're going to add the Lynn. Who else are we supposed to add?
I can't remember if we.
The Gophers are represented.
Gophers are there. I just can't see them. We have the Saints on the plus, the St. Paul Saints.
That's true.
I don't think we're going to throw their logo up there. I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe that'd be a good place for
What about
all
the wind chill?
We don't have the wind chill.
Oh, we should.
Yeah.
Championship pedigree. Will the wind chill be coming back to visit us at the State Fair this year?
They will if you want them to.
Yeah, we might have to.
I went out and saw them for their home opener. It was very fun.
Did you really?
Yeah, at Seafoam Stadium. It was great.
Was it festive?
It was very festive. They've got
was
food
that the
trucks out
championship
there.
trophy ceremony? Did they raise a banner or anything?
They showed where the banner was. I don't think they actually raised it because there's nowhere to raise it in an outdoor stadium. So they had it on one of the fences.
Okay.
And then every fan that came through the door that night including me, got a championship T-shirt. That was very cool. A black T-shirt.
Oh, nice.
I wear that a lot.
That's very nice.
And then I did like the ceremonial Frisbee throw.
How did you do?
Right down the middle.
Good distance?
Yeah.
Was it about distance or about accuracy for that throw? Or both?
Well, I think they want both, which is why I had my Frisbee player move in, 10,
Yes.
15 yards. And I didn't throw it. You know how the real Frisbee players will throw it, kind of like a forehand?
Yes.
Which I did at the fair last year, if you remember.
I do.
They came out and showed me how to do it, and that was pretty good.
That was nice.
But I turtled, I'll admit. I didn't throw it that way in front of the thousands of people. I just threw it like the regular.
You were afraid that you were going to embarrass yourself?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I wanted to throw a strike, and I did. It was great. There's video of it somewhere.
You guys didn't hear about the wall? It's going to be a mural of the power trip. That would make sense.
Would not surprise me. And that's why we haven't heard about it.
It's absolutely the reason we would be the last to know there.
Only issue there is we should have picked a bigger wall because that's not enough room for everybody that's on the show.
Not on any given day.
No.
That's for sure.
Like you and I
given
could take,
segment.
you and I could take that little pillar right there between the windows, just have me and you on there.
Even that might be too much.
Yeah, the power trip, they probably needed the back wall for that.
715 guy, enough with the corn sweat bit. It's like beating a dead horse. How long do you think 715 guys listen to this show or to this station?
Seriously, yeah, this is 40 years of that.
715 guy, yeah, God bless you. Do you have any idea, unless you're being ironic, that's what we do. It's what we've done for 40 years. Yes. If we find something we like, we beat it into submission. And by the way, we've barely scratched the surface on the corn sweat. That's like 2 weeks old. And
foreshadowing?
Might be some foreshadowing for the Great Minnesota Get-Together as well. I'll leave it there for now. But my God, there's stuff we've long beaten into the ground far more regularly. And then and a couple of those items might indeed come up today as well. Can you win a Super Bowl? 10-3. What's the fewest number of points a winning Super Bowl team has ever scored? I think, by the way, it might have been against the Vikings. Didn't the Steelers have a low score in one of those games?
Wasn't one of them like 17-6?
I think it was, or 70. Yeah, it was a low score.
Oh, the most recent, the lowest just happened kind of recently.
It did?
The New England Patriots defeated your guy Sean McVay and the Los Angeles Rams 13-3.
How did I forget that?
Because it wasn't a very memorable game.
I guess that's what it was.
Very boring.
And maybe that answers my question.
It was memorable because the Rams were the greatest show on turf 2.0 with Sean McVay, who remembers every play he ever called, and Belichick just completely diced him. That's why it's memorable.
Yeah,
but other than that, I didn't know it was 13-3.
I mean, we're going to be back at training camp Thursday. Apparently, the night practice yesterday. Did you see the comments from Seifert, who was there?
Yes.
Basically, he's never seen a quarterback or quarterbacks have to escape the way the Vikings quarterbacks did over and over and over again. So maybe we are obsessing way too much on J.J. McCarthy's progress. Maybe it's immaterial. Maybe our defense is going to be so good that if we can get to 17 points, it's an automatic victory for us. Regular season, postseason included. Was the head coach? I saw the head coach grab the mic yesterday. Did you watch the video of the head coach grabbing the mic to thank the fans?
I didn't because I felt like I kind of knew what was coming.
Well, yeah.
Which is fine. It's not illegal, but
he's, I think in his own way, still trying to acknowledge those that are there.
Which he should. That's great.
He shocked people by calling Vikings fans the best in the country, best in the National Football League.
Who would have thunk that?
And who'd have thunk that? Exactly it. But I don't remember if he had a chance, if the Jackals had a chance to talk to him after said occasion. If you went, text me. Was it that bad? Was it that dominant? Are we reaching a point where Beeflo is going to have to call off his dogs a little bit so that we gain a little bit? Because you want to have. You don't want to have fake confidence, right? You don't want to have phony confidence.
You want to feel good, though.
But you want to feel a little bit good about what you are trying to put together. I didn't listen to Sauce and or Nordo. Did they panic?
I only listened to the first 25 minutes.
Okay.
Before anything substantial really started. So, but knowing those two, they probably would have, yes. Or they would have focused on the fact that the defense is the story. I saw we had one live, like, inside zone run period. It was supposed to be a live period.
Yes.
And the offense fumbled and the defense recovered it for a touchdown. I did see that.
Pittsburgh, January 12th, 1975, Tulane Stadium. Pittsburgh 16, Vikings 6.
There you go.
So that was the low scoring one I was thinking. Of course, every game Super Bowl was low scoring if it involved the purple.
Right.
Look at the purple's point totals. We've talked about the fact they've yet to score any points in the first half of any of their 4 Super Bowls. Here's their totals for games. 7, 6, and 14.
The stories a stadium could tell.
We've never scored more than 14 in the Super Bowl the entire way.
How did they get to the Super Bowl?
I don't know.
With those offenses.
Well, good defenses, I guess. We lost the last time to Oakland by 18. We lost to Pittsburgh by 10. Lost to Miami by 17. Lost to Kansas City by 16. Man. That's it's a low bar to clear. So maybe that's what we have to hope. That we're on the other end of a low-scoring game, simply because this is going to be the culmination of the B-Flow vision, right? Every year we've added talent. We've developed internally some talent. We've added talent via free agency. We've now done that 2 consecutive off seasons, right?
Yeah.
And maybe this is going to be it. Maybe this is the moment that ultimately will mean B-Flow will become a head coach next year, finally. That may be inevitable, but that probably be a trade-off that most Vikings fans would be willing to accept, correct? I mean, do you think Vikings fans would be disappointed if the Vikings got to the Super Bowl and won it like 6-3?
No, we would not.
I don't think so. Not at this point, right? If you accept whatever you can, if you can finally raise the banner, right? That's all that matters.
Yes, they could win 3-2 or 2-0.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody would care. And this is a town, whether it is the Purple People Eaters or the late 80s Vikings defenses, which I know were pretty good. And then obviously the Chili defenses were very good, right? With the Williams Wall and
correct.
Jared Allen and the Zim Reapers. This is a town that appreciates good defense from their football team.
Well, I did a whole first segment Sunday celebrating the Jared Allen induction into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, but more broadly reminding folks that, we don't have a Super Bowl win, but our continuum, our progression, our tradition when it comes to defensive linemen sacking the quarterback especially.
Very good.
It's incredibly good. It's all time in the history books between official sack totals and then people like Carl Eller and Alan Page are on the unofficial list because they didn't keep sacks back then. We've got some Johnny Randall. Are you kidding? The tradition, I don't think there's a team that has our tradition when it comes to sacks. But, the whole list is very good, both inside linemen playing on the inside, in the case of Randall, and, of course, Alan Page. And then on the outside as well, Carl Eller, and most assuredly Jared Allen as well. It's been a really, really impressive list. And also, in some cases, highly pedigreed, highly selected picks in the draft. And then folks who came out of nowhere. Jared Allen was, a 4th-round pick?
He was.
Johnny Randall was not even selected in the draft. Undrafted. So we got that going for us. We probably would prefer a Super Bowl, but that's how the thing.
Man.
Minneapolis, time to put on your baggy sweatshirt and get ready to laugh. Comedy icon Adam Sandler bringing his You're My Best Friend tour to the X on October 22nd. From Happy Gilmore to The Wedding Singer, he's back with brand new jokes, classic bits, maybe even a song or two. And tickets go on sale this Friday at 10 a.m. Full details are at KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
Was he in Wedding Crashers?
He was not.
Okay, I didn't think so.
No. Also a great movie.
Yes, very good movie. A disappointing film when it's one of the censored versions.
Yeah.
I don't think by definition, you're better off not playing that movie at all.
Probably.
Same with what's the female version of Wedding Crashers, also incredibly hilarious.
Bridesmaids?
Yeah. You can't, to clean that up for non-cable television, what's the point? In all seriousness. It's all or nothing to me on those two films.
Yeah, I suppose you're probably right.
I know you can still get some
the
of
gist,
it, but I don't think it's anywhere near what it would otherwise be. Larry Mondello, guy, State Fair T-shirt, bumper to bumper, beating dead horses since 200. What does that mean? 200.
I'm guessing he forgot.
Oh, he forgot a zero. 2000.
Or
you could possibly just make it a shirt for the entire station, as it's a pretty universal trait among all the shows, except maybe Fan Outdoors.
They do freshen it up.
Does Fan Outdoors do less horse beating than any other shows? Dead horse beating? Would that be fair? It might be true. They might actually have fresher content week to week than any other show on the Fan.
Because they often
It's still about killing animals.
It is, but they mix it up with different guests and different people.
Okay.
There's always somebody unique on the show.
I agree with that. It's a very good show. Yeah, Chris Dolman's also on the list of outstanding. The litany of outstanding pass rushers in Vikings history can play with anybody. It really is that good. Look up as we did, the all-time, both the official and unofficial sack lists. Why do you keep assuming it's the defense that is uber dominant? Perhaps McCarthy is no good, or it's a mix of both. Possible.
It's frustrating.
Very possible.
It's breaking Vikings news, not surprising Vikings news, but it's official that the NFL has suspended Jordan Addison without pay for the first 3 games.
Okay, as was expected.
Yes.
But now official.
It's official. Tom Pelissero, among others, reporting that. So it's worth noting. He wasn't going to slide by.
May I ask who will take care of his dog, the sick dog, while he's on suspension? I guess he's on suspension.
He gets to. He doesn't have to worry about it.
Doesn't have to worry about any other responsibilities.
Not on game day.
Doesn't have to worry about kenneling the pooch, right? Unnecessary.
Have we ever heard one thing about the dog since that?
No one's bothered. I'll ask Kevin Siepert's with us again at 4:30.
Yes,
he has threatened to report on it. He fancies himself this tenacious.
He asks a lot of tough questions.
Reporter who asks tough questions, but he's never gotten to that. But I think everybody, I guess, is bored with it. They've just moved on with other issues. So out for the first 3, and again, the Vikings can't possibly be unprepared for this, right? We've known the assumption has been, especially once there was a resolution in the case where he pleaded to a lesser charge, but it wasn't going to change the fact that customary for a player with his sort of offense at the start of the process would end up being suspended for 3, and now he is. And didn't we say also, when we talked about this last time, that this also would have already included the appeals process? In other words, if he had appealed it, he already would have lost the appeal, or if he didn't, either way, it's not like tomorrow his agent might say, and we're going to appeal this punishment. My recollection was the next announcement was going to include the appeals process if indeed an appeal was attempted. Seifert will be able to clarify all of that at 4:30. 3:30 today, Christine Brennan is going to join us, longtime columnist and now out with a very popular Caitlin Clark book, really chronicling the Caitlin Clark story and her first year in the WNBA. She is scheduled to join us at the bottom of the hour. Let me get to a couple other texts here before we expect to take the phone call from Chris. I texted in about the corn sweat and the non-fictional nature of it, which you read on the air. As a 715 resident myself, I'm disappointed someone would be upset about the nature of the bit. I'm still open to call in, taking agriculture in general, if you'd like. That's Mitch from Spring Valley. The corn sweat bit is such a dead horse, you should have Ken Patera on to talk about it. More moist and destructive to Minnesota's atmosphere. 2025 corn sweat or the original limestone at Target Field after it was first built? Did the limestone finally dry out? 2019 Bomba Squad, Dong Squad, only to be re-dankified by uptick in corn sweat in recent years. Should have put a roof on it. That's deep. Flim Flam. That's very deep, is it not? That's deeper than I could have imagined. A lot of votes for more corn sweat talk. In fact, where did it go? Corn sweat has to be in the running for the naming of the first Snownomi.
Oh, good.
I missed the corn sweat episode. Still got to go back so I understand. Assume it's like swamp ass. It's really not quite the same, is it? I think it's different than that.
I wasn't expecting that.
Nor was I. I was annoyed by the corn sweat talk at first. It has grown on me. Keep up the corn sweat talk, Danny boy. That's from 612. To be honest, if I hadn't heard corn sweat mentioned today, I might have changed the channel. That's from Love the Grum Gal. Excuse me. That's Living the Dream guy in Blaine, Minnesota. John from Owatonna, will you please talk about corn sweat more? Live corn sweat meter on the wall possibility. I would just say, stay tuned for maybe a state fair related announcement in that regard. And I had one more. Need a bigger wall for Sauce's head. That's not very nice.
Disrespectful.
Very disrespectful. I don't like that at all.
Only we can talk about the size of Sauce's head.
Has the Edina website been updated to include all the notable Vikings pass rushers and Hall of Fame members yet? I'm sure Jared Allen drove through Edina once to get to Winter Park. That's a great callback right there. Are you bracing yourself for the revenge Paddock game tonight? Can we get Lavelle to do some detective work and see what's going on with the Twins' kitchen? That's from Clayton. Yeah, we're matched up. We lost last night. Bullpen imploded.
Yeah.
And Paddock is on the mound for the opposing Tigers this evening, correct?
I believe so.
Yeah, I'm not at all. I'm very much looking forward to that. We've got some Twin stuff I want to get back to, believe it or not, later in the show as well. Has anyone at KFAN ever heard of Keith Millard? Yes. Millard was a great interior lineman. I still think of him less as a pass rusher than more as a run stopper who actually, before he got hurt badly, did everything well. He's absolutely on the list. I wasn't done on the list. I was just naming some of those who are very capable of being very, very good. JG, have you seen the new Happy Gilmore? I've heard it is not great.
We don't have enough time for me to give my review.
Yeah.
Because we need to pause.
Yeah.
But I'll just tell you this. I loved it.
You loved it.
I loved it.
That's the second person I said that I heard loved it. I don't know if the other one is any more objective than you are, but we'll get to that later. We'll take a break and expect a phone call from Christine Brennan. Lots to get to. Caitlin Clark related, Cheryl Reeve related, and who knows who else. That's next.
Man.
As I mentioned, Kevin Seifert will join us in about an hour from presumably Vikings training camp today or somewhere close to it. After significant negotiating between the producer of this show and several big-time publicists, a deal was finally secured to get a minute or two with our next guest, who is patiently waiting on hold, called in moments ago. Christine Brennan has a new book out called On Her Game, Caitlin Clark and the Revolution in Women's Sports. I believe it was released July 8. A couple weeks ago, it was, I think, number 2 on the New York Times bestseller list. And she is kind enough to join us via the Connecticut Water Systems hotline. Christine, how are you?
Dan, I am so sorry. Can I just say, you are, first of all, I think the listeners know, if they don't, you and I go back, 35 years?
Minimum.
Maybe 40 years?
Yeah,
right?
That's true.
I love you. I miss you. We had so much fun when we were, kindergartners covering the NFL together.
That's true.
And and we were back then for the math. Not quite. And Big Ten, right?
Yes.
Indiana, Northwestern, the whole thing. So, total apologies.
I'm just playing. Just playing.
I know, but I wanted to do your show right away. So anyway, thank you for having me on. And, love that I'm on with you. But again, apologies that we didn't get this done sooner.
I was chiding.
Here we are.
Look, I mean, you had, I know, a lot of touring. In fact, I think, didn't you spend some time in Bloomington? Didn't your book tour include a visit to Bloomington, Indiana already?
It sure did.
Yeah.
On Morgenstern Books, which I think arrived after you were at IU.
That's true.
But I think it just arrived 4 years ago, so it arrived after almost everyone was at IU. But I signed, it was a great event, and then I literally, Dan, signed 300 books in their stock room, whatever.
Yeah.
And I looked at the owner, and I said to her, I mean, this is great. I mean, I'll sign all of them. And she goes, these will be gone before Christmas. And, it's Indiana. It's Caitlin Clark.
Yeah.
But that was kind of a moment, right?
Nice,
where you're signing 300 books and you know that they're going to fly off the shelves. It's a pretty cool feeling.
Congratulations, because they've been, the book has done very well. I would assume is beyond maybe even your wildest dreams. I'll give you this toss-up question. Over the years, we've had both of these individuals in this very studio from which I am talking to you, Cheryl Reeve and Sarah Spain. My toss-up question to you is, who at this moment is more upset with you? Is it Cheryl or is it Sarah? Or is it go back and forth based on the day?
I don't know. Sarah and I haven't talked at all since she was, sadly, making things up about me, and I called her on her cell phone because I have her cell because I've done her radio show so many times, and sometimes she'd get in touch last minute. Could you do the show? And I'd say, yes, of course, because I like Sarah. I still like Sarah. I mean, you know me, I'm pretty much like everybody. And also I've always supported, women, especially in the business, and worked very hard with the Association for Women in Sports Media as the first president and scholarships and all that. So I'm all for Sarah. But I had to call her back with the whole Dejanay Carrington asking questions that we'd ask men, but somehow the WNBA players couldn't handle basic questions. That was a very embarrassing moment, certainly for the WNBA and the Players Association. Anyway, during that time, Sarah made up, sadly, got 4 or 5 things, lots of stuff wrong. And I called her to say, hey, take that down. That's just wrong. And she wanted to double down on it. So not mad at her at all. I wish her well, and I, tried to help her out there. And then Cheryl Reed, too. I've tried to call her and talk to her so many times. I wanted her voice throughout on her game. I do have her voice in the book with some of the things she said, which I'm going to guess we'll talk about. But if Cheryl's listening, Sarah, too. I mean, I think they have my cell number. I have their numbers. Call anytime. It's always a two-way street.
There's plenty, that I want to try to address regarding the book itself, and some of it definitely involving the Lynx head coach. But I want to get into this a little bit more globally, because I was talking about this yesterday. In recent weeks, maybe even going back to last year, because I'm trying to understand sort of the way this league operates and sort of what it wants to be. My point is, I've heard refs get ripped a lot. I've heard ownership get ripped a lot. I've heard fans get ripped for booing a player who quit on the Fever, and they had the audacity, the fans did, when the first time she came back, they booed her, which is hardly unprecedented. Even security recently ripped. And I sense sometimes, Christine, that the only individuals who can't be questioned in this league are the players, as you've kind of found out. And so will you answer a global question for me? Does this league truly, seriously want to cross over into the mainstream culture or not? Because sometimes I think it acts as if, in its disdain, its anger for pretty basic journalistic questions, some of which you have asked, that it wants to kind of stay in its safe little cozy non-mainstream bubble, doesn't want to deal with any possibility of criticism, and to which I say, well, then you're not going to cross over. What's the disconnect here, or am I missing something?
No, Dan, you and I, we completely agree. Every day that I was working on this book, and it happened quickly, got it out as quickly as possible, every day, so that's basically a year, I have asked myself, do they want to keep the small things small? From reporters who were trying to argue that Caitlin's crowds weren't, that Angel Reese had the bigger crowds than Caitlin or something. It's just insane. I mean, there's one person who's selling out all these arenas, and it's Caitlin Clark. It's not Angel Reese. Angel's a great rebounder. But, just kind of having bizarre arguments that, or even conversations with other journalists, most of them who've covered the WNBA for a long time. And, of course, I covered the WNBA back in the 90s when no one cared. And obviously was always encouraging my editors
absolutely.
Or whoever, but we should cover this and treat it as a real sport. Treat it like we cover the NFL, you and I, or cover the Olympics. Nothing, no sugarcoating, whatever. Anyway, whether it was the reporters, the beat writers wanting to be protective. I've got a great quote in the book from a journalist saying, is this a sport or is this a charity?
Yes, we quoted from that part of the book. Yeah.
Yeah, and that really does, you describe it beautifully. Annie Castabile, who was at the Chicago Sun-Times at the time. Anyway, and then also just the utter lack of preparation for this moment. This is the greatest thing that's ever happened to the WNBA. Caitlin Clark's arrival, greatest thing. Is she the greatest player? No, not now, maybe never, but she's the most important. And this is the moment. This is a moment any sport just craves, right? You just are dying to have this happen if you're a sport. To have everyone want to watch all these guys who hated the WNBA, laughed about women's sports. Those are the same guys, Dan, wearing number 22 jerseys, not only to the games, but to the grocery store and the gas station. This is unprecedented. I never thought I'd see this in my lifetime. From the Big Ten, all the lines, people lined up for hours in the cold, and, University of Minnesota, obviously, my alma mater, Northwestern, your alma mater, Indiana, University of Maryland, Ohio State, to see a woman play basketball. Never ever thought I would see that in my lifetime. So, yes, I absolutely agree. Utter lack of preparation, wanting to keep the small things small, inability to understand what real coverage is. The booing thing that you're mentioning, ridiculous, utterly ridiculous. Booing shows that people care. When someone is booed, that means there's passion.
Correct.
And how this was, at least one player was Khalil Copper was upset about it. I mean, that's just. But then the question is, who is helping them? Who is not helping them? Where are the agents? Where are the general managers? Where are the owners? Where are the coaches to say, hey, bring everyone together? Guess
Where's
what?
the commissioner?
This is now a big-time sport, and this is how it goes, and this is what you want because you're going to make more money. And
Christine? Oh, we lost you for a second there. Are you back?
Are you there?
Yeah, we lost you for like about 5 seconds.
Hello?
Maybe can you hear us? Or we'll put you back on hold and let Guardsy try to figure out suddenly a little bit of a phone issue. I hope that wasn't like the WNBA commissioner's office piping in, trying to get in the middle of the line. We'll see if we can get Christine Brennan back to talk about her new book on Caitlin Clark, Cheryl Reeve factor, etc. We got it back, we think, Guardsy? All right, let's try it again. Yeah, just all of a sudden you were gone, and then we could hear you asking whether, on the other side, and but I don't think you could hear us. So you got us now, okay?
No, I couldn't.
Awesome.
That was weird. But I hope I got most of that point out.
Well, here's what I added to amplify your point. Where is the commissioner? To me, the commissioner has to have the guts.
And all that, the commissioner. Well, the commissioner, Kathy Engelbert, by the way, Dan, who I like, I've known for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I have nothing against any of these people. I want them to succeed. I'm a journalist. I'm covering the news as it happens. You do this too. But then as a human being, you'd like to I don't root for people to fail. Kathy Engelbert, on October 10th, which was game one.
Yes.
Of the Minnesota Lynx, of course, New York Liberty championship, final game, and she had 27 minutes. She talked to the press, had her State of the League and Q&A, all about the bigger arenas that they went to, all about the attendance records, all about the unprecedented television viewership, which of course all happened because of Caitlin Clark, most of it. Basically almost every game, over a million viewership with Caitlin Clark in Indiana. And she talked for 27 minutes, Dan, and she could never say the words Caitlin Clark. I mean, so she's got in the same situation, I think, which is unbelievably troubling.
I think in watching all this from afar, we've not talked in a while, but I've certainly paid attention to these stories. And the Lynx are, as you know, they're viable in this town. This is a championship caliber franchise, extremely well run, are in position to win their 5th WNBA title. They took it to, as you said, the last game, Game 5 last year. They're legit. So we pay attention to this stuff. I sense that you are maybe the single most misunderstood person ever associated, in a sense, with the WNBA. Because in my view, the way you look at this, and you can tell me if I'm summarizing this correctly, is as someone who has wanted to see, has championed the growth of women's sports, equality in women's sports, seen it develop at various levels in your lifetime, etc. All you're looking for is the player, because sometimes it is a single player, who just lifts all boats, who for whatever reason galvanizes. And I don't sense you give a damn who that was. If it were Caitlin Clark or somebody else from someplace else, you just wanted to see it happen and then to celebrate and to say, why can't the entire league get in on it? That it's sort of the breakthrough crossover moment, and that you didn't care who it was. It just so happens that it's her. Do I have that about right?
You sure do, Dan. When I was watching the incredible buzzer beater by Caitlin Clark her junior year against Indiana, I was actually watching the game more to watch Indiana, which, as you know, as a good Hoosier yourself, they were ranked number 2 in the country at the time. And all my siblings, 3 of them, and a niece and a brother-in-law, all went to IU. So I was kind of watching from the Indiana perspective. And then I watched Caitlin hit that three buzzer beater at the end, sideways, legs flying out. And you can't take your eyes off it. You got to watch again and again, and go to social media and see the replays, all of that. So absolutely, I would never have said, oh, it's going to be a person from Iowa. It makes sense now, of course, that it's Caitlin Clark. But absolutely, and I'll even go even farther with you on this. I'm not saying this because you're in the Twin Cities, but on my book tour, which I'm still on. I'm in D.C. right now. I headed to Portland next, and on we go. It's wonderful to see all these fans and people that care, and girls in jerseys and uniforms, boys in jerseys and uniforms. I have said that I wish it had happened sooner, which you know is true.
Yep.
It would have been amazing. I'll say it right now. Maya Moore, the great Maya Moore, who of course was young Caitlin Clark's favorite player, and still is, role model, everything about her. And who better on earth to pick as a role model than Maya Moore on the court and off, with her advocacy and obviously amazing work with her now husband, getting him out of jail, wrongly convicted. And I wish it had been Maya Moore. And I know there are people probably listening, well, Maya Moore's great and we all know about her. Yes, for sure. Maya Moore never, ever transcended the sport and became someone that people in the produce section at the grocery store around the country were talking about, like, what time is the game, and do I have Ion, and how am I, when are we going to start watching that game or whatever. I wish it had happened with Maya Moore. It didn't. And we do understand, you and I, obviously, it's a 74% black league, and I go into this absolutely in the book. And the logo threes jump off the page, this magic of sports, the magic of Caitlin Clark, chucking it from the parking lot, it goes in. That's all in on her game. But so is my journalistic look at where we are, and 74% black league, white woman comes in. Absolutely understandable that would create some friction in this very polarized society we live in, set against the backdrop of a presidential election last year. Race is always a huge issue in this country. And so it's totally understandable that it didn't, but wouldn't it have been something if Maya Moore had been the one that not only was one of the most famous athletes in the country, but one of the most famous people in the country? That's what Caitlin Clark is. But I so wish it had happened, 10 years earlier, 20 years earlier. But you and I are journalists. Facts are facts. It didn't happen then. And now it is happening. And as you said, that is the breakthrough moment that I write about and talk about and am very pleased to see.
This was, I think, a fairly recent podcast. Let's get to the Cheryl Reeve component of this thing, because that's obviously big here. You accuse her of lying on a number of points after she kind of fired back at you. So what specifically do you say that Reeve lied about regarding sort of the history of this story, particularly as it pertains to her, being the Olympic coach?
Yeah, that was on a radio show and podcast I get with Adam Gold in North Carolina, and he brought up the Olympics. I did not bring up Cheryl Reeve or the Olympics. He brought it up, and this was before the book even came out. And Cheryl Reeve was talking about how it was fiction. And I think this is a chronology, but anyway, she said, well, the book is fiction and the story is fiction. Well, the book wasn't out yet, and of course the book is definitely nonfiction, so there's that. I think she was also, though, implying, Dan, that it was my reporting was fiction.
Right.
And that is the anecdote that I think is worth repeating, that a 57-year-old woman, Cheryl Reeve, back in May of last year, 2024, was focusing on targeting a 22-year-old rookie on social media. Let's take everything else out of the equation, which I'll get to in a moment, and just talk about that. A 57-year-old focusing on a 22-year-old who loves her team, right? The 22-year-old, of course, Caitlin Clark, who grew up loving the Lynx.
Maya Moore especially.
And this is that issue of the tweet that the WNBA put out about watching the Indiana Fever's first preseason game.
Yes.
And Cheryl Reeve, who said she loves to troll the WNBA. That's fine. Troll the WNBA. Don't troll the 22-year-old. Why would you do that? I mean, that's just a power dynamic that's just actually chilling. If that happened in a school or something, could you imagine? And so that alone and as someone, I mentor a lot of 22-year-olds and 20-year-olds, I think probably you do too, I would hate myself if I did something like that. But anyway, it was all about that tweet, that the links then were not on TV. So then Cheryl retweets about that and then puts the hashtag, the W is more than one player. And of course, we all know who that one player is. Again, targeting the 22-year-old, focusing, whatever word we want to use, focusing on, detailing, whatever, the 22-year-old, that would be Caitlin Clark. And then someone else on X, Twitter, under that post, it asked, is there a reason why it's not being shown, meaning the Minnesota Lynx game? Then a second person, these are unknown people, because they only care about Caitlin. And then the Minnesota Lynx head coach, who is also the Olympic coach, then after that, because they only care about Caitlin, Reeve then types or writes, in her own X account, that part. Mm-hmm. In other words, because they only care about Caitlin, Cheryl Reeve, that part. And of course, in addition to what I've mentioned about the age difference and the power imbalance and just the impropriety of every ounce of that, I think in my mind, and I'm guessing in a lot of your listeners' minds, even if you're Lynx fans, how unsettling that moment is. And I wrote about it at the time for USA Today. She also, of course, Cheryl Reeve, as you well know, was the Olympic coach at that time. And Caitlin Clark is still in the selection pool to be part of the Olympic team. Now, Cheryl Reeve, there's a committee. She's not officially picking the team, but we know she's the head coach. She said she had not been in the trenches with Caitlin Clark a few weeks earlier at a USOPC media summit. And now she is focusing on, whatever the right word is, one of the young women who could still be put on the team. I've covered the Olympics, as you know, since 1984. I have never seen an Olympic coach in any way, shape, or form say anything publicly about a potential candidate for their Olympic team. So on every level, that performance there, Cheryl Reeve doing that, was just awful. I still think that. I'll say that forever. I would assume most people would agree with that, how terrible that was. And as I understand it from other people, she has deleted those tweets. And she was complaining, furthermore, last thing, sorry for the filibuster here, but it is important to go into. Yep. She was complaining that I did not do my due diligence or did not, check on this. I texted her throughout that time period through USA Basketball spokesman Michael Terry. Every day I tried to reach her during the time I was reporting that story in May of 2024. So probably about 5 or 6 straight times through Michael Terry. Then I got her cell number. And again, sorry for all the detail, but I think it's important. And July 10th, I was texting her right before the Olympics, July 14th. Then I was texting her and then also reaching out to the Lynx PR people for the book in the fall and winter. So she had plenty, probably close to 10 opportunities to reply to any of my requests to speak to her and to get her a chance to, give her side or to tell me what she was thinking about all that. So that's the true story. And obviously, Cheryl was saying, sorry to say, I wish I didn't say this, but It is true, Dan. Sorry to say that what she said was just absolutely not the truth. So,
and I assume there's been no clearing of the air since with her?
No, she has, I just looked before we got on, I just looked, there are 3 or 4 text messages that are unanswered from me to her. She obviously knows it's my cell number, so sure. Love to talk to her. We did talk briefly. You remember the Maya Moore game, yes. Which was August 25th or so last year. And that's when I was working on the book and traveling with the fever. So, I did, after Cheryl Reeve's press conference, and I asked her a question, and I don't know if she knew it was me or not. I'd be happy to identify myself, but no one does. So wasn't being secretive at all. It's just that's not what people do, in those little pressers, over at the Target Center. Anyway, then she left the room, and I followed her out of the room real quickly to introduce myself and to say, I'd love to talk to you for the book. And she smiled. And in fact, she actually congratulated me on the book, so she'd heard about it. And then I said, I'd love to talk to you. And she said, yeah, let's talk after the season, set it up through the PR people. And I did all of that. And again, she disappeared on me. So it's her right not to speak to me, absolutely. But what a shame, because it could have given context to all this that's in the book, because I had to put that in the book. And journalistically, it's journalism 101 to put that in the book, as you know. So I'd love to talk to her. If she's listening, if anyone call me. They've got my cell. If they don't have my cell, Michael Terry has the cell at USA Basketball. Love to chat with her now. Absolutely. I think she's an incredible coach. Great success story. And as I said, I think we get along great. I love her sense of humor. Obviously not when you're targeting a 22-year-old who's also a candidate for the Olympic team you're coaching. That is behavior was stunning to me and remains stunning, a year and several months later. Just absolutely unacceptable, I think, and to anyone who would have a sense and kind of look at it logically. So, but again, love to talk to her, Dan, anytime, anywhere. And as I said, she's got those text messages that I've been waiting to hear from her for well over a year.
Christine Brennan is our guest. Her new book On Her Game, Caitlin Clark and the Revolution in Women's Sports. Help me understand another component of this story that I've never quite accepted. From the beginning, Clark's burden was you have to, at any given moment, acknowledge the history of this league and everybody and every important player who played in it before you did. I believe in history. You do too. I actually think in some sports there are folks who decry the lack of understanding of younger players about what came before them. That said, it strikes me that this was the only example I could see where one player was continually being held to that standard, almost no matter what she did say in what came before her, not stopping, but certainly starting with Maya Moore, who was a little kid. She had an opportunity to meet and talked about how that sort of set her in motion on so many levels. Why was she put constantly in this position where before you answer anything else, you better make sure you acknowledge and you better weigh in on 4 or 5 social issues as well, or we're not going to pay attention to you. I don't know any other athlete that has been put as consistently in that position in the last 25 years.
I don't think there is anyone. Tiger Woods got a little bit of it.
Right. Again,
that was before social media. But the male golf world accepted him within a few weeks and just said, hey, you know what? He seems arrogant, Curtis Strange, like, okay, Tiger, you'll learn. And then, hey, you've already won a tournament. Guess what? We're all going to make more money. Rising tide lifts all boats. Yippee, let's go. That's what happened then. Now, social media, had it been in place in the late 90s, would have impacted that for sure, especially on the race issue. But there wasn't yet social media, of course. So I've never seen anything like it. My guess from my reporting, and by the way, in the book, I report, of course, what I know. It's an unauthorized biography, by the way, which sounds ominous, but it's not. It's what you want. It's no holds barred. Caitlin will write her book someday, and it'll be fantastic. But that's not this. This is a real journalistic look at everything, including all the fantastic, incredible magic of Caitlin Clark. I mean, that's a big chunk of the book for sure, and how great she is and how her quotes are throughout, because she did answer 40 to 50 questions I asked. So her mindset, for 12-year-old girls and boys, Dan, their moms and dads, their grandparents. I mean, I'm signing books like crazy for kids. It's just, I wrote it so that kids would enjoy it and young athletes as well. And, I think there's just sense. So this is now my guess, my opinion, that is not in the book per se. I think that there's it's jealousy, frankly. And Muffet McGraw in the book, the former Notre Dame coach, calls it petty jealousy that she's seen. And I think that there's so many players, not all. The Indiana Fever players love her. They love to be on the receiving end of those passes. They want her back as quickly as possible from all these injuries, which has been so weird and unusual and disheartening for her. But yeah, I think that there's just this sense that, okay, you're getting all this, and so we're going to demand things of you that we've never demanded of anyone else. But here's the problem, and I know you probably need to run for your break here. But I've had people on book tours say, well, why doesn't she do what Paige Beckers does and just talk about all this? Well, I said, is Saturday Night Live in a significant show? Yes, they all agreed. And then I talk about how she turned to the camera while on Saturday Night Live, April of 2024, and thank Cheryl Swoops, Lisa Leslie, Cynthia Cooper, the great Dawn Staley, and my basketball hero, Maya Moore. Dan, all of them are black women. Caitlin did this on one of the best places you can, Saturday Night Live, right? Reaching such a diverse audience, transcending sports. And somehow that isn't enough for these people. I do not understand why they're doing this because, again, the spotlight shining on Caitlin Clark is now shining on all those players who deserve that, never got it. The All-Star voting, look at Asia Wilson 2 years ago, look at her now. The numbers are extraordinary. And all these players are getting the attention they deserve because Caitlin Clark is there. And I'll say on this story, I promise you that.
Let's finish with this because we are behind, but I want to get to one other thing quickly. Is probably, as you might know by now, the Lynx just added Carrington in a pretty significant trade as they're trying to obviously match as closely as they can the moves of the Liberty, the one team that's on their heels and won the title last year. And you had obviously, and you write extensively about this in the book, that you asked Carrington some questions that, according to other WNBA players, are well over the line. That led, I know, to a couple of, I don't know if confrontations, accusations flying from a couple of players and teammates, and even Carrington confronting you as well in a different way. So do you have any sense that through all of that, that deep down, the league understands that the questions you asked were perfectly legitimate questions, that there was no significant line that was crossed here, and the notion that you have to sort of pull your punches because of what might be the implications of a certain question is sort of why the league then does sometimes act like it does not want to cross over. Deep down, does the league get that, or to this day do you think they're still tiptoeing around that entire sequence?
They're definitely tiptoeing around it. Kathy Engelbert never spoke out. I mean, could you imagine, covering the NFL as you have and in the role you have now, obviously, in town with the Vikings and, obviously your incredible voice that you have. Could you imagine, like, if Roger Goodell was presented with, well, we're going to ban this journalist. I mean, Roger Goodell would say, no, you're not. Stop. And Kathy Engelbert obviously didn't do that. Now, it turned out, I mean, it was ridiculous, and I would never seek that out. But as a journalist, I'll ask those questions, 100 times out of 100. So, and they failed miserably to ban. They didn't ban me, right? It was a total embarrassment and failure. So I think that just the silence that they are still tiptoeing around it, and they're so afraid. I mean, Dan, are they afraid of their players? The race issue is clear for sure. But a leader leads, and Kathy Engelbert could have done so many things to just say, hey, I'll say her name and we're all going to get through this. And as you know, in the book, I have Dr. Harry Edwards, the great civil rights leader, a black man, the man behind the Mexico City Black Power salute. He was the impetus for that at the 1968 Mexico City Olympics. Harry Edwards says it. I don't need to say it. You don't need to say it. Harry Edwards does in the book. Dear friend, and I'm so honored to have his voice for several paragraphs talking about the WNBA failed the players by not seeing what was happening. How do you miss all the crowds in the Big Ten and the 4 million more watching the women's final than the men's final in NCAA in 2024? How the WNBA missed all this, I don't know. But Harry Edwards says you have seminars, you have meetings, you have Zoom calls, not because they're damsels in distress with the veteran players, but because this is unlike anything they've ever dealt with. Caitlin Clark coming in, the attention that's going to be coming. They failed on that front, and that's Harry Edwards talking about that, not me. There is all of that. I did have, in the book, you'll see an official anonymously quoted because they asked me not to use their name, saying the questions, WNBA official, the questions were fine, absolutely appropriate. And then basically the quote was, our players do not understand what media coverage is and real attention is. So that is as close as we have, and it is a real quote, a very serious quote from someone who knows within the WNBA telling me the questions were fine. Of course they were. And that they're the kind of questions you have to ask. And the athlete wants those questions to hit it out of the park and quiet the controversy. So the WNBA official told me all that night, that it was absolutely appropriate and that the players had no idea what real media coverage is. What an indictment that is by that WNBA official of the league itself. And the utter lack of preparation and helping these players understand what it's like to be interviewed and be in a big league, which I consider the WNBA now a big league, and the Indiana Fever, Dan, are like a men's professional major league sports team. And so are the Lynx, and so are the Liberty, and a few others for sure. So anyway, yeah, I think, inside the WNBA, they would never say it on the record, but they knew that it was an utter embarrassment what was going on, and yet they let it keep going. And obviously, it's all in the book, and I guess they say the rest is history.
I appreciate the extended time very much. By the way, a couple texters want to know if Iowa is on the book tour. Have you already been there? Are you going to go back there, or what can you tell us?
Iowa City, I was there. Sidekick Books had signed books in Iowa City. Wonderful event there with Lisa Bluter and Jan Jensen, over 300 people. Des Moines, Beaverdale Books, they have signed books, at least they did a few weeks ago, and also Ames, Iowa, with Iowa State coach Bill Fennelly and his daughter-in-law, who's a superstar from there, Lindsay Fennelly. And so they should have books also at Dog-Eared Books in Ames. And here's what I'll do, though, Dan. People can message me, social media, go to my website, which is just myname.com. Send me a message. I will sign book plates, which are, things you stick in the book. Yeah. And I will personalize and sign any books, book plates, and send them, my treat, send them to whoever. I've done some of that already. So ChristineBrennan.com, send me a message, or find me on DM me on X, whatever. And I'll be happy to send book plates. That would be my honor to send them to whoever would like books personalized, but who I missed in Iowa.
Thanks again for the extended time. Be well. Good to catch up with you. It's been way too long, and we'll try to do a better job of staying in touch. Thanks, Chris.
Oh, my gosh, Dan. Thank you so much. Take care.
Appreciate the time. Christine Brennan, her new book on Caitlin Clark came out in early July, doing very well so far, and certainly an individual as a reporter is not sitting on the fence regarding what she has written, and also trying to defend herself against some of the criticisms from Cheryl Reeve and others. Lots of texts have come in on that subject. We'll try to catch up and get to some of them in